Russian drones were seen not only over a military facility in Europe, but also over a strategic one in France. French Navy personnel opened fire on the drones they detected over the location of French nuclear submarines. Moreover, the French military admitted that this is not the first drone attack on this base. At the same time, Germany has finally started to take action. The German Ministry of Internal Affairs has created a new unit to combat drones, which has been tasked with protecting critical infrastructure facilities, including airports. In addition, the agency announced the creation of a joint drone defense center, which will coordinate the work of police forces from individual German states with the federal center and the army in assessing threats and developing technologies. Meanwhile, we have this crazy Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, who says no, don't pay attention to all these drone attacks. He says that it is specifically the European leaders, primarily Germany and France, who are seriously ready to start a war with Russia, and that's why Hungary needs to avoid participating in it. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave any comment under this video, and subscribe to my Telegram channel Pichi New. The link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation or paid subscription using the links and details in the description of this video. I would be grateful for any support you can give. So, on Thursday evening, French security forces responded to unidentified drones flying over a military base where nuclear submarines are stationed. As was carefully stated in Paris, these are the latest in a series of mysterious intrusions into tightly guarded European airspace. Nevertheless, all these incidents have raised suspicions of Russia waging hybrid warfare. So, does all the evidence point to Moscow being behind all these attacks? So, a French official reports that on Thursday evening, there were flyovers recorded over the Crozon Peninsula. Quote, "The military personnel stationed on the peninsula and responsible for securing the facility responded quickly and appropriately, fully in accordance with existing procedures. Drone flights over military facilities are illegal. And yes, under such circumstances, the protocol provides for jamming the aircraft." At the same time, Agence France-Presse sources reported that a total of 5 drones were spotted briefly circling over the nuclear submarine base. Europeans continue to be cautious in their wording, but it's already obvious who's behind all this, since this is far from the first drone raid. Well, for example, 3 days earlier, 5 large military-type drones were spotted near Dublin Airport along the flight path of the arriving president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. But in this episode, by the way, Russia messed up. The thing is, as reported by Irish journalists, Zelenskyy's plane landed in Dublin slightly ahead of schedule, just a few minutes before the incident, around 11 o'clock post-meridium. But the drones entered the flight path of the plane with Zelenskyy right at that moment. On time, according to the schedule, exactly at the moment when the plane was supposed to be landing, according to the timetable. That is, the Russians thought the plane would land according to the schedule. They were preparing for this. It was a planned drone attack, but they miscalculated. The plane landed early, so the drones missed it. And when it became obvious that the drones were late, they flew over the Irish Navy vessel, which had been secretly deployed in the Irish Sea during Zelenskyy's visit. So it was a demonstrative act, a flight meant to intimidate. Moreover, as stated by the Dublin police, the fact that the drones had their lights on led the security service to believe that the goal was to interfere with the arrival of the plane carrying Zelenskyy to Dublin. So the goal was to try to blind the plane, prevent it from landing on the runway, and possibly not allow Zelenskyy's plane to land at all. The Irish security service determined that the drones over the Irish Sea were large, extremely expensive, and had a military purpose, and that the incident could be classified as a hybrid attack. But here I'll give you a truly striking quote from the local publication, the Irish Times. "It was decided not to shoot down the drones, and there was no way to neutralize them on board the ship." According to available information at that time, an Irish Air Corps plane was also patrolling, but it did not intervene either. The Irish forces had limited capabilities to counter drones. The portable equipment purchased by the Irish police could not be used to destroy the drones because it was outside the signal jamming zone. In addition, there were no air defense systems except for the machine guns on the military ship, but the Liades vessel does not have onboard radar. And regarding the attack on the French submarine base, I'll quote Axios. These could be deliberate incursions intended to test response times and the effectiveness of interception technology. These could be surveillance missions, or it could simply be the negligence of an amateur. However, the French base, or the Luc submarine, which is in the spotlight this week, is home to 4 nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. This raises the stakes. It would be naive to think that these drone incursions, which have now become commonplace in the skies over Western Europe and NATO countries, will stop anytime soon. And in this situation, strangely enough, it was the Germans who were the first to respond appropriately. This week, the German Ministry of the Interior created a new anti-drone unit tasked with protecting critical infrastructure, including airports. In addition, the agency announced the creation of a joint drone defense center, which will coordinate the work of police forces from individual German states with the federal center and the army in assessing threats and developing technologies. The German authorities have taken these measures amid a record increase in incidents involving unidentified drones appearing near airports. And according to official data alone, more than 190 such cases were registered from the beginning of the year to the end of October. This was reported by the State Air Traffic Management Company. Here is a quote. Aviation has faced this problem from time to time for years, but it has never become as serious as it has in recent months. Today we are facing real threats when someone deliberately launches a drone into the airport area, forcing it to shut down. And also find out, is the Germans who have the strongest ones today. You understand? The fact is that the Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, has openly stated that Moscow is behind most of the drone incidents, and that this activity is aimed at testing Europe, but in that very Europe, excuse me for mentioning the village Krisa, which, although it sees what is really happening, acts in the most irrational way possible. European leaders are seriously determined to start a war with Russia by 2030, and Hungary must avoid participating in it. That was a quote from Viktor Orban, who not so long ago went to pay his respects to Putin. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.